Hello, students. I'm going to briefly provide an overview of an opportunity for you to earn some classroom competition points. This is an optional activity, so you will not receive a grade for it. However, you can earn up to 50 classroom competition points. This is going to be a self-paced activity. Basically, the instructions are provided for you, and you can just walk through it step by step. But in order to get the 50 classroom competition points, you basically have to create 3 letters in your own font style. To begin, you're going to go to vidcode.com, and the link is available in modules. I'm also going to have it posted on the calendar, but it's called Bonus Font Creator for Classroom Competition Points if you're looking in the modules. If you've never done coding before, this is a great opportunity to kind of get some exposure. And again, it's all step by step. So you get to do the mini lessons on your own. And basically, what will happen is as you're doing your coding here in your workspace, this is the user interface. So this ends up showing you what is seen with that code. You'll notice as I move my mouse around, there's this X and Y down below. Basically, that tells you the location of your mouse on the stage, if you want to call it that. That's what it's called within Scratch. So we'll just use that term. This one appears to be a little bit different in terms of the dimensions from Scratch. In Scratch, you'll consistently hear me say that it's 480 pixels by 360. That's going to be really important in our About Me Google Slide project. So this one isn't the same dimensions. It's actually, if we scroll down to the right, it looks like it's about 640 by probably 480. So this is, just think about math. We talked about how math is embedded in everything, including technology. So this is basically like an X and Y axis, if you're thinking about it. So the X goes along this way, and then of course the Y is the height. So that's how you're going to be thinking about how things are viewed in that space. So to get started, you basically look over here at the instructions. You'll notice there's not a ton that you have to do. They start basic and then kind of increase as you go through each lesson. So in this project, you're going to make your own typeface. Woo woo! A typeface is a family of fonts like the ones that you've been using in other projects, similar to like what we've been looking at fonts.google.com for our slide deck projects. So you can, if you want to, click on that if you want to hear the instructions with the kind of creepy, slightly robotic voice. And then you click next. So the first thing you're going to do to get started is to draw a font. Fonts can evoke different ideas and emotions. Check out some fonts for inspiration, so you can go there. You can also go back to fonts.google.com, take a little peek, see kind of stylistically what people have done when they've created those fonts. And you're going to basically begin by sketching a few letter shapes. So again, in order to get the full 50 classroom competition points, you have to create a total of 3 letters. I found that a lot of students like to start with T, and the letter H is also pretty easy. V is a little bit more challenging because you have to create, it's not just straight lines. So you'll have to kind of figure that part out. But as you're doing this, you're going to think about the thickness of the lines or strokes, as well as the proportions of the letter. As you progress through this lesson, you'll notice that down here, this starts to populate with code. So basically, if I drag this over to my workspace, it automatically provides me with the code. And then basically, you just start adjusting your numbers according to the X and Y coordinates. And you'll notice over here that when I dragged this over, because it already established as 100 in the X and 100 in Y, basically it created a line for me. So you're going to use the shapes to translate your sketch into code in this activity. There are 2 types of shapes that you're going to use, which are lines and circles. And again, as you go through each lesson, you'll learn step by step, like you get into circle making essentially in 1.8. So it's really, really easy to follow along. If we go to the next one, basically, it helps us understand what the code means and what it translates to visually. So you'll notice that there are these 4 coordinates, essentially. This code says to draw a line that starts at the 0, 0 position and ends at 100, 100. So each number corresponds to an X or Y position like this. And hopefully you remember from your math classes, right? X and Y points. So we're starting at 0, 0. So X is 0 and Y is 0. And if I put my cursor kind of up there on the very edge, you can see that down below underneath the square or rectangle that shows my stage. And the points are ending at 100 y, X and 100 Y. So again, X is this way, right? So this is at 100 X. And if we're looking at the point from this perspective, that is 100 Y. Now, if I want to create a line that's not starting up here in the corner, let's say I want to start at 100, 100 for X and Y. So basically where the end point had started. And maybe I want to create a straight line coming down. I could just change the number for the y-axis then so that it's starting again at 100, 100, so 100x, 100y, and then I have it still ending at 100x. That doesn't change, but the endpoint for y changes because I've brought it down 100, and maybe I'll make that 400. Oops, I keep clicking enter. My bad. Wow, that's really long. So this is just an opportunity. This is where you can kind of just play around and see how these look, how they end up being visually represented over here. So then you click next, of course, to go on to the next lesson. And then this is where they're just basically having you add more lines. You can read through that on your own. You can actually get into changing the letter color. They walk you through how to do that. You can also learn how to change the letter thickness. And again, they get you into making circles. And so that way, if you want to make something like letter D, for example, or B, that will provide you an easier opportunity to do that. So the goal of this, again, is this is not something we're going to do in class. This is for you to explore on your own, play around, get to learn some coding, walk through each of the steps. Again, they're super, super short and sweet, so it's pretty easy to follow along. But the expectation, one more time, is you have to have at least 3 letters in your own font style. Try to make them look good, maybe add a little kind of like flair, if you will, whatever you think that means. And then basically you'll just take a screenshot once you've done that and you can upload it here. I'll make sure this is published so that you can do that. If you have questions, you are always welcome to email me. You can also stop by if you get stuck for Zoom office hours, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 3:15 to 3:50. But my expectation is this is, again, for classroom competition points. So I'm not going to walk you through it step by step. This is kind of on your own to see what you're able to come up with. I hope you have fun with this. Last quarter, several students did an awesome job, and it was really fun to see what they came up with.